expect his counsel for.
The recording has started. Can I have election for chair, please? I have nominations for chair.
Nominate Councillor Lester Buxton.
Cool. So over to me then. Great. Thank you. I'm Councillor Lester Buxton. We'll start with introductions. So Councillor Lester Buxton, Crouch End Ward.
Councillor Nick Costa, Highgate Ward.
Right. Good evening. Can we introduce the officers? Fine.
Good evening, I'm Dale Barrett, licensing team leader.
Good evening, Israel Greenberg, legal advisor.
Nazir Chowdhury, clerk to Licensed Subcommittee and Democratic Policies.
Perfect. Can we move on to the review applicant, which is the Noise RA? We have the representative online.
I don't think he's here, chair.
Right. Okay. So we'll move on to the support of the application. So those that will be speaking in support of the review application, can I just remind people that when they're introducing themselves, just introduce yourself. Please don't give out your address. So whoever's online, I can't particularly see well from here, but do we have Councillor Adam Small?
Yeah, Councillor Adam Small, Councillor for Hornsey Ward.
Okay. Are we just introducing the people who are there any other supporters online who will be speaking in support of the application? So this is the application, support of the application to review.
Good evening, Chair. My name is James Rankin. I'm appearing on behalf of the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. I've got Kerry Denham with me to assist.
Thank you. Anyone else? I can see a yep.
Hello, yes, this is Henry. Yes, I'll be speaking to support the review.
Perfect. I think someone else came off mute.
Lowena Varis, Century House resident.
Perfect. And is there anyone, is there the final ones, are they just observers or are they supporters? I know, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, that one. Okay, cool. Yep.
Henry, could you please confirm your last name?
Henry Redclark.
Yeah. If there are no other speakers putting themselves forward, the speakers that I have are Councillor Adam Small, Mr. Henry Redclark, Selena Warris.
Let me just write down, sorry, who was that, Warris?
Yes, Warris, yes.
Thank you.
Police representative, PC Karen Dunham, represented by Mr. James Rankin. Yeah, and those are all the speakers that we have, I think, Chair, unless there's someone else.
Okay, and finally, can I have the licence holder representative introduce themselves?
Yes, good evening. I'm David Dadds, counsel, and I represent the premise licence holder. And if you introduce yourself.
My name's James Kearns and I'm the premises licence holder.
Cool, okay, right. Yep. So item 1 of the agenda, filming at meetings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for public viewing. Item number 2, apologies for absence. Apologies have been received from Councillor Peacock. I, Councillor Buxton, will be substituting in her place. Item 3, urgent business, clerk.
No items of urgent business listed, Chair, but as this is also a special meeting under Part 4, Section 3, paragraph 17 of the Constitution, no other business will be considered.
Thank you. Item number 4, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest? No?
No.
No, thank you. Item number 5, summary of procedure. Excuse the monologue, but the procedure for the meeting has been emailed to all participants by the clerk. For the purposes of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the review applicant will present their case, although they are not present. The licence holder and the subcommittee will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the supporters of the application will present their representations, and licence holder and the subcommittee will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the licence holder will present their representations, and the review applicant and supporters and committee would have the opportunity to ask questions. If you are online and you are speaking, please keep your camera on when speaking. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the subcommittee to deliberate and reach a decision. This decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. So a few rules and procedures. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. That's me. We will take all papers as read unless there is anything you wish to draw our attention to. All speakers will be allocated 5 minutes to speak. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time, unless you request for an extension of time, which is at the discretion of the chair. Please do not share addresses of speakers. In the event that there be several speakers for each party, please avoid repetition and perhaps consider having a spokesperson to address all the concerns. Right. Yes, Mr. Daz.
Yes. Can I just seek a couple points of clarification, if I may?
Okay.
The first is the applicant here for the review, and is there a reason why they're not here? If or are we expecting them? So that's my first question. My second question is that there is a document that's been circulated regarding this analysis. There was like a map, spot. I don't know if you see that.
Know which one you mean. I think it's in the additional papers. Page 26.
Thank you. I was wondering whether you could kindly get clarification from the police of who is the author of that document, because I have no name of the author or police constable that's produced that. And my last question is that you said 5 minutes each speaker, but you will appreciate I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favour, as well as the applicant 6, so that's 30 minutes. I asked that I have a parity of time, so if they use between 20, then I should have 20, so that we have equal time, please.
Okay, let's deal with that in order. So first of all, the applicant present, I'll seek officer advice on that. So if the applicant, you're asking if the applicant is present,
Yeah.
and what impact that has on.
Are they present? Are they?
They are not present. The review applicant is not present.
Is anyone speaking on behalf of the review applicant?
I don't believe.
Unless somebody from the noise responsible authority team is here. Which I don't think they are. Chair. I can't see.
I cannot see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to raise.
I've never been to a review where there's never been an applicant. So it was that all I'm asking, Chair, so that it's fair for everyone, is the person, because we had it once before at Lambeth where I didn't show for an hour and you knew I always tended. I don't know whether this person is delayed or there's something on. So do we just wait for a minute? So I just want to clarify, if it's anticipated that they're not expected, then that's fine. We move on. I'll make submissions at the relevant time.
Hello.
Are you looking for the licensing committee? Yes.
That's.
Come on in. We're just talking about you. Amir, is it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Welcome. The applicant is here.
Well, that answers that question.
That answers that question. Should we go back to introductions and just we'll deal with your other points and then we'll
Take this.
that.
Yeah, I'll move that up on the end.
Yes.
Right. So,
Bring a chair.
The only point is that really expensive.
Griffin chair. With Griffin chair. Oh no, you're looking.
No.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So that answers point 1.
I was just wondering if you were delayed by accident.
Right. Author of report on page 26. Is that a question for the police? So, Mr. Rankin, or and we've got Miss Denham.
Yes, I can confirm that Kerry Denham was the author of the representation that contains the images that you see in your report. And Mr. Dadd was told that yesterday in response to his inquiry.
Thank you. And finally, the 5 minutes speaking constitutionally.
It's correct.
It's correct that everyone has 5 minutes.
It's correct in the sense that Mr. Dadd is correct in the sense that parity of time. So if the residents and Mr. Darvish take, say, 20 minutes speaking time.
Okay.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, so that's in a sense.
Yes, and I'm sure Mr. Chowdhury will take a record of the time that they take.
Yeah.
And I could be told, and I will respect that. But as long as it's parity, I get fair.
Absolutely. Okay. Great. So, Mr. Darvish, introductions, please. Sorry.
Hello, sorry I'm late first of all. My name is Emily Darvish, Enforcement Officer.
Perfect. Right, so I've concluded item 5. We move on to item 6, which is application for review of a premises license at Hornsey Arms Limited, 26 High Street, London, N8, Hornsey. Can I ask Ms. Barrett, licensing officer, to introduce your report?
Thank you, Chair. I thought that the panel has read through the documents, so I will give an overview, please. So the application before the panel this evening is a review of premises license for Hornsey Arms Limited, also known as North 8, 26 Hornsey High Street, London. The review is submitted by the Noise Responsible Authority, relates primarily to the objective of the prevention of climate disorder and prevention of public nuisance and public safety has also been cited. The application itself can be found at one of the report. The application contends that the operation of the premises have led to public nuisance from large patrons congregating outside on the pavement, fights taking place, and noise. Premises license holder, Hornsey Arms Limited, and the designated premises supervisor is Ms. Gemma Crucifix. At section 1.3 of the report, there you have the timings that currently there's a license. There is also a copy of the license. To the report. During the 28 days consultation period for the review, application representations were received from the Met Police, ward councillors, and residents. They set out several complaints received from residents and a number of attendants by the police to the premises to deal with ASB matters of report. And representation are shown at next three. In considering and determining this application, the licensing subcommittee is able to consider any A, to modify the conditions of the license, B, to exclude a licensed activity from the scope of the license, C, to remove the designated supervisor from the license, and D, to suspend the license for a period not exceeding 3 months, or E, to revoke the license. Depending on the decision the subcommittee takes, the answer that clear reasons are stated as to what that determination is. Section 2, you've got the background there that the premises came over into the regulations on the grandfather rights. It's taken over by Mr. Thomas Kearns on the 29th of October 2021. under the name of Ponzi Tavern Limited. Mr. Kearns was the director of that company. The premises was previously reviewed, and that review was brought by a resident in March 2022. And at that time, that review was due to noise issues late in the evening and into the early hours of which was impacting the residents. The LEC determined to add conditions to the licence. That's the outcome of that review. 2022. Premises licence was then transferred on the 14th of March 2024 to Ponzi Limited, which was basically a new company formed by Mr. Thomas Kearns, who remained as the director of that. Copy of the licence is in Appendix 2. Section 3 covers the licensing policy provisions there. In reviewing the licence, the subcommittee will consider and take into account the complaints history of the premises and all other relevant information. You also have within the pack there the guidance from this section to balance consider at Appendix 4. I will remind that Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 also comes into play, as does the Human Rights Act. Chair, I don't know if you need me to take you through the representations. Obviously, you've read them yourselves. Can I just point out that there was in the additional document a letter complaint that had been submitted to Catherine West MP. That letter is to be disregarded. It's not.
So for clarity, that's pages 21 and to 23 of the additional paper pack. Okay, is that noted by the committee? Yeah.
Yeah, noted.
Okay. Thank you. I will begin with. Is this a point of order or is it a question to the licence holder? Sorry, not the licence holder.
I know that Ms. Barrett means no disrespect at all. We've working for many years, but I just wanted to correct it possible. It's James. It's not Tom.
Oh, sorry. It's James Thomas.
Yeah, that's right. So I thought I'd just clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Do members have questions for the licensing officer?
No questions, Chair.
No questions. No questions. Right. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. We will now hear from the review applicant. So, Mr. Darwish, please can you make your representations?
Sure. Unfortunately, we have an ongoing issue. Noise, these premises. As well as COVID. I think it was myself. The issue is the noise is ongoing. We can clearly hear in the resident's house. We can even sing along the lyrics. Following the procedure, we try to start with the warning, and then to issue an abatement notice. But please, every time, sure everyone's aware, the process has to be done. We have to kind of witness, observe, and then take the next action. And it has come to point, as Mr. mentioned, that previously in another hearing that was sorry because the noise. This time the police is initiated this hearing, but the noise here is still. I'm not the case, but I'm familiar with the case. The issues we tried work with the premises. We're not trying to enforce straightforward enforcement in any type of basement on non-compliant. FPM was issued, and unfortunately, it's just the establishment doesn't regard to uphold the licensing from objective in order to some balance between the revenue and the system that they're running. We are here to be unbiased towards other parties, hence we have to follow the procedure. But it's been going for 10 years now. That's why proceed.
complete. Can I ask the committee if they have any questions? We'll also take from the last time.
Yes, I've got a couple of questions, if I may, Chair.
Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. The report on the bundle mentions that there have been at least 3 meetings with the premises. Did any meaningful changes come from these meetings?
Well, I can't confirm anything because I wasn't part of those meetings. That my colleague, the OIC officer in case. But one thing is clear is that the meeting is similar kind of reports we received based on the record. That's not much action has been taken in terms of reducing some, coming to some middle ground. That's my answer.
Thank you. Actually, that's answered my second question as well, so I've got no more questions for the moment, Chair.
Okay. No, it's not.
Oh, you've got no more?
No, because I've answered.
So, I mean, as you are not the actual officer who's been attending on a regular basis, I just wondered what times, were there any kind of particular patterns that you were kind of facing? You know, in terms of complaints and stuff, were there particular patterns or were they specific issues that you might have raised at the meeting which then weren't addressed or were addressed?
Again, as I said, I can't specifically make any point about the meetings, but based on our record, and this happened is usually 9:30, 10 p.m. is just and the hunters have a few and then noise and then it goes up, and that's usually when we get the noise reports. Goes on with depending on we have out of our service we can attend different times, but usually later.
And you mentioned the noise, but were there other incidents that people complained about? And I'm trying to get some of the information for the recording, actually.
Not to us, but apparently, if it's the police report, some the police reports go separately.
Okay. And do you complain to the police on sort of?
No, we don't complain to the police. Our job is, unless there is when we arrive to a location, and then some kind of a, officer safety issue, violent, etc., then we call the police. But usually we tend not to call the police unless there's something
serious. And again, you weren't the officer concerned, but I just wondered if there'd been incidents where you have been called because of an incident, and then you go away, and that a further incident was reported by residents.
In terms of, I wouldn't call it incident because it comes to us as a report. So it has happened.
Okay.
The report comes like multiple times. Not specifically to these premises.
Yeah.
If there is a noise, hence the noise, it continues, and depending on how fast we can respond. Sometimes we get there to respond, but there are times that we move on to the next visit or the next call. Similar kind of report comes for the same, for the same.
Okay. But did it feel your team as if the impact that they were having little impact in dealing with the licensee?
Yeah, that feels like that because then the residents, because we are in the middle dealing with the businesses and licensing residents, and everyone's had expectation from us, which is fair enough. That's our job. But when you get to the point that you have to go around the circle and there is no positive action taken in order to resolve the issue, then it comes that sometimes we have residents complaining, we're complaining this amount of time, there's no action taken, etc. We have to explain this procedure, we have to, etc. But that feels like that sometimes.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think just kind of want, and again, it might not be as you weren't in the meetings. Was there any willingness from the license holder to rectify some of the complaints, to address them?
Again, personally, I have no interaction with either DPS or the licensee. that's something that the OIC correct at those meetings. But again, me coming or any other officer coming from our teams, what we always have input is based on that record. And we put everything on the record, meaning that because not many of us there, we can look at the records. Based on the record, it seems that not many positive actions been taken.
I'm surprised you kept it on so long. Would you like to ask a question?
I was about to say, at school we used to call it a red dot day when you could take your tie off, and that definitely feels like it.
Thank you, it's very warming.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of questions that
Absolutely.
I made through you. I know the officer sits there.
Yep.
Sorry, I have a bit of astigmatism, so it's difficult for me to focus a little bit, but I'll try to do that. This year alone, there's only been one evening that's been complaints to your office, I understand it. That's just only on the 15th of February. I know, I can ask the question. 15th of February. There's been no other calls. Is that right?
I can check, but I believe.
Yeah,
that's
it's
what you're
in
saying.
yeah. Are you aware that we've done soundproofing?
I'm not. Just before I was on a very long sabbatical.
It's good.
Became a carer. No, I became a carer, but so there might be not enough information I have, but I need to have a check on our system. If you needed to, I respond.
Could I just ask point of clarification from you? I mean, it sounds like you're in the hot seat, and really, I think I will treat it as that, as you're. It's somewhat difficult on the officer, and I don't want to take advantage of that. But you did say you're here because the police initiated this review. Are you aware actually it was your colleague that initiated the police?
I have. There's been maybe did I say initiated? Maybe I did make a mistake. If it's initiated, it was based on there was more report of antisocial behavior, etc. to the police. I do apologize if I made that mistake.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just leave for submissions, and I respect that this gentleman is going to be in some difficulty if I asked him any more questions, and I don't want to do that. I'll leave it to submissions.
Thank you. Okay. So we will now hear from those who have submitted representations. So if I can start with Councillor Adam Small.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for allowing me to speak this evening on behalf of our deeply concerned residents in Hornsey about the situation at North 8. I am going to do my best not to repeat the facts as they're already set out in the very detailed reports about the circumstances. And instead, I'm going to try to clearly set out why I and fellow councillors, but why I strongly believe that revocation of the licence, not just curtailment, is the only effective and necessary course of action. As is evidenced in the reports, the licence holder has repeatedly and egregiously failed to uphold the basic requirements set out in the Licensing Act. We're not dealing with a few isolated incidents or minor oversights, but we are facing a sustained pattern of serious failings that have caused serious and repeated distress, fear and concern to a lot of the local residents in Hornsey. But B, and perhaps most importantly for our purposes tonight, undermine all four licensing objectives. I'll try to take each in turn and stick within the 5 minutes. Firstly, prevention of crime and disorder. Since March, there have been over 60 police call-outs to the premises. That's March 2024. 60 police call-outs to the premises on over 35 separate dates. Between February and April this year alone, when the review was instigated, there were 24 calls to the venue, nearly all related to violence. These incidents didn't occur solely in the early hours of the morning, then could be resolved by shorter drinking hours, but regularly at 9 p.m, 8 p.m, 7:30, even as early as 3:30 in the afternoon, an issue I'll come back to in a minute. By the time the police are called, we're obviously at the point of maximum escalation and indicate hours beforehand of rowdy, disruptive behaviour. But most importantly, these instances are not one-off disturbances. They're a sustained pattern of disorder directly linked to the premises and its management. The licence holder has repeatedly failed to control the conduct of patrons inside and outside the premises. Despite police intervention and action taken previously by your committee, the licence holder has demonstrated very little commitment to barring difficult customers or barring those that commit crimes. On one recent occasion, when the police intervened to address a violent fight, the licence holder explicitly told officers that he was happy for the individuals to remain on site. Conditions imposed previously by the committee required 2 door supervisors on duty. The licence holder admitted that despite extensive issues with crime and disorder, he only had 1, confessing the explicit reason for that was prioritisation of profit over safety and their legal obligations. Secondly, the one licence objective on public safety. If you visit North 8 pub at the minute, there is a glistening of glass around the surrounding streets from what I can only describe as months of fighting and smashing bottles, glasses, windows, vomit and urine outside the doors, large drunken crowds spilling onto the high street, creating serious hazards to residents and users. As the councillor regularly walking past, I can assure you these problems are present even in daylight, at times when children are walking home from nearby schools. Other evidence includes a female patron served alcohol to the point of vomiting and then attempting to drive home. And while I completely accept the licence holder is evidently not responsible for attempting to drive drunk, they are very much responsible for intoxicating the client to such a state that she and others have required hospitalisation. Video footage submitted by residents shows that I have seen them making representation on their behalf, shows other locals running along the streets in the middle of the day to try and escape men fighting in broad daylight. Thirdly, the prevention of public nuisance. Noise complaints stretch from June 2023 to February 2025, with residents woken up or unable to sleep 3 or 4 times a week, even after a noise abatement notice was issued in January 2024 and a fixed penalty notice in February 2025. The issues have continued. The operator has either shown an inability or an unwillingness to control the noise and outdoor drinking. I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to move on to fourthly, the protection of children from harm, the licensing objective. Most shockingly, there's evidence children have been served alcohol on the premises, with one confirmed case of a 16-year-old at nearly 3 a.m. and a further concern from police whose body-worn camera footage indicates very young persons drunk in the pub in the early hours. The licence holder's own policy instructs no children will be allowed in the pub after 9 p.m, another failing, and an obligation to follow Challenge 25. I also want to draw members' attention to the fact that this premises operates within 200 metres of 2 schools, and as is evidenced, has failed to control violent and drunken behaviour, even during the day, with fights breaking out on the streets between adult men, while primary school kids opposite are walking home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon. Conscious of time, I just want to move on. That I appreciate some have suggested curtailing hours and adding additions. You'll rightly come to your own conclusions on the options before you tonight. But I want to urge members as strongly as I possibly can that we have tried a lot of these conditions before, previous reviews, fixed penalty notice, ASB team interventions. And I want to draw members' attention to clause 3 in the licensing report, that where reviews arise in respect of criminal activities, that the crime prevention objective is being undermined, it is expected that revocation of the licence, even in the first instance, should be seriously considered. Thank you very much. Just to finalise the point, we don't believe this is an issue that can be solved simply by shortening hours or further conditions. This is endemic mismanagement, and firmly believe that revocation of the licence is the only suitable way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Small. I will then move on to the police representation.
Thank you, Chairman. You will have seen and read our representation, which is at page 43 of your bundle. And I echo the sentiments and submissions that Councillor Small has just made. If you were to turn to page 44, it makes for grim reading. There are, and I can summarise it this way, that in that year, from March last year until the date that the application for review was submitted, there were at that stage some 40 incidents. 28 of those were for violence, and the police attended 26 times at these premises. On 19 of those incidents, the violence involved members of the travelling community. What's interesting about these incidents is that they occur mostly, we would say, in the early hours of the morning. The premises have a very late license at 3 a.m. And these incidents are no respecters of the normal Friday and Saturday night. They can occur on any night during the week. It has become what the police term a hotspot, and you've seen the mapping there and the representations that Miss Denham has put in those images. And what we say is that these premises are out of hand. Mr. Cairns and his family have lost control of the public house. Now, we tried to engage with Mr. Cairns initially by phone on the 14th of February 2025, and Mr. Cairns appreciated that there was a serious issue with his premises. He maintained that he would bar people, and he asked for advice in respect of how to ban certain people, particularly those of the travelling community. Now, the police did a follow-up visit on the 14th of March, and what was clear was that despite these many instances of violence, and despite the fact that he had a condition requiring 2 SIA, he only had 1 SIA. And you've seen reference in the papers to the 17th and 18th of March, where even though there were 2 SIA, they were ineffective and of no use. What was clear on the engagement visit on the 14th of March was that the premises were breaching other conditions. There was no refusals book, for example, which quite frankly, when set against all of the other evidence against these premises, is perhaps a matter of less concern. But there was an issue with the CCTV, now rectified, but it was a breach of the premises license conditions. Now, we seriously considered applying for a closure notice under Section 19 of the Act. But Mr. Cairns promised that he had engaged the services of Mr. Dadds and that his staff would be trained and that he would have 2 SIA. And in light of what we felt at that stage were positive steps, we did not apply for the closure notice. But what is clear is that any promises made by Mr. Cairns were what we would classify as minimal efforts. He had made minimal efforts to bar nuisance patrons, and it's perfectly clear from the body-worn video that our officers activated when approaching the premises on the 17th and 18th of March that many of the customers were heavily intoxicated. Some were under the age of 18. As Councillor Small has indicated, there should be nobody under the age of 18 on these premises when they are not subject to adult supervision, and there certainly shouldn't be any children on the premises. There were again no refusals log, and the suspicion that the police had was that young people had been served at these premises. Now, what's important is the reaction that an operator has to police engagement. And only 3 days after it was made perfectly clear to Mr. Cairns that the police were unhappy with his premises, there were then 2 mournful days. One was the 17th.
Mr. Rankin, I'm going to have to ask you to stop. We've hit the 5 minutes. Can you just finish your sentence?
Would you mind if I just had a couple of more minutes? I've nearly finished.
I mean, we gave the 5 minutes as the warning at the start, and I think procedurally we stick to that.
I understand. Right, Clark?
Can you remind you that we'll be asking questions?
We will be asking questions, and then we'll, we will expand on some of the points to the supporters. That's not free fall, but it is the 5 minutes that you were told about.
I can sum up in this way, then, if I may. That
10 seconds.
We believe that the outcome of these proceedings shouldn't necessarily be revocation, although that obviously is on the cards. But we believe that cutting back the hours in line with the other public houses in the High Street, the 3 Compasses and the Great Northern Railway, is the solution to this problem.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. I am going to move on now to Sorry, let me just see who was the next on the speaker. Henry Rudd Clark.
Just there. Yeah.
There we go.
Press one.
There we go. So, hello. Right, I don't think that there's much more I need to say really in terms of what's been going on at the pub, because I think Councillor Adam Small has summarised it excellently, and I'd like to just strongly echo his comments about what the nature of the environment is around the pub. I think I would just say, like, as a resident, that we've had some like serious direct impacts, like we haven't been able to sleep many nights, we've had mental stress. We've had to go to things like job interviews and do exams on like 1-2 hours of sleep because of this situation. I think that thinking about the reaction that the license holder has taken is quite important here. And I would say that what kind of really stands out to me is that since the review has actually started, it seems like things have actually gone worse, and that to me is quite shocking. I think that since the reviews started, there's been all-night lock-ins that seem to have occurred. I've frequently seen people leaving the pub at like 8 a.m. I think that it's really completely deteriorated the local area for us and made it to be basically a really unpleasant place to live that we kind of don't really have a lot of interest in anymore. I think that at the start of this process, I was quite in favour of a reasonable approach to this problem. And I think that taking a balanced approach and reducing the hours of a licence was quite fair. But I actually now really strongly feel, since the review process has started, with the way that things have gone in the local area, that I am strongly in favour of a revocation of the licence. And I do feel like if that doesn't take place, that things will not be fixed. And I think that there's evidence that points towards that in a lot of the representations. Thanks, that's all.
Thank you. Right, we will now move to Lowena.
Yeah. Good evening, Chair and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. So my name is Lowena Varis, and I am a resident of Century House, which is directly adjacent to North 8 Pub. I've submitted numerous complaints over the past year, and the situation has not only failed to improve, it has escalated. What we are dealing with is not just noise or nuisance. We're dealing with a serious, sustained threat to safety, privacy, and well-being. Let me share a few examples of what I've experienced. I've had a bottle thrown at me by pub's patrons. I've been verbally assaulted, shouted at from the street by drunk and aggressive individuals. And most recently, and most disturbingly, I had a male patron climb onto my private balcony and deliberately throw an object on there. Despite my pleas for him to leave, he refused. He trespassed on my home, my safe space, and showed absolutely no regard for my personal safety or boundaries. The behavior is consistent, typically involving groups of intoxicated men who are loud, aggressive, and disruptive. As a woman, this is deeply frightening. The psychological impact of that incident still lingers. It's not just a violation of my property, it's a violation of my right to feel safe in my own home. This isn't an isolated problem. What we're witnessing is a pattern of loud, unruly, often drunken hooligan behavior, which occurs not just on weekends, but throughout the week. It is relentless, the shouting, the fighting, and chaos often onto late into the early hours of the morning, and yes, even on weeknights. Again, I'd like to emphasize the frequency of disturbances into 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., often on weeknights, not only weekends. I'm a working professional. The consistent noise and stress have disrupted my sleep patterns and impacted my work productivity. This is a pub that attracts a certain crowd, one that feels completely emboldened to behave however they like, because they are never held accountable. There is no meaningful control. There is no sign of responsible management. And most disappointingly, there is no concern whatsoever from the pub owner for the residents whose lives his business is negatively impacting. When I recently raised the issue, including sending him evidence of the gentleman climbing onto my balcony, I was not met with concern or an apology, but with dismissiveness. In fact, his only response was to ask for the object back. This is not just bad business practice, this is negligence. Now, let me be clear. I'm not disillusioned about living above a pub. I fully understand that some noise and the occasional rowdy nights come with the territory. But what I've had to endure goes far beyond what anyone should reasonably expect. This isn't just typical pub behavior. It's dangerous, it's aggressive, and it's completely out of control. Council members and chair, granting or renewing a license is not just a commercial decision, it is a moral one. You are deciding whether a business that consistently endangers and disregards its neighbors should be allowed to continue operating in a residential community. I urge you to consider this not only through the lens of compliance, but through the lens of an experience of any of our residents who are too afraid or too exhausted to keep complaining. We have the right to feel safe, we have the right to sleep, and we have the right to live in peace. I urge you to please consider doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that comes to the end of the supporters who I had present. Clark, can you just confirm that with everyone?
Yes, I can confirm that is correct. Chair, may I respond to the regard?
Yeah.
Some in the summarisation in your.
Oh, you can do it in the summarisation.
Question you asked previously about it.
Do it in your summary. Because now we are moving on to questions from the committee to the supporters. Sorry, I've just lost my place. Yep, sorry. We'll take questions from members and the licence holder to the supporters. Again, if you are speaking, please remember to turn on your camera. Everyone's been good at that so far. Can I ask the committee to open up? I think just a clarification, Councillor Small. So you were asking for the revocation. Can I just clarify if this is a permanent revocation, or were you also suggesting the suspension of up to 3 months?
Thanks, Chair. It was a permanent revocation. Obviously, it'll be up to the committee to decide as they best see fit, but I think there is evidence of a litany of failures of previous promises undelivered, previous conditions set out not fulfilled.
And then I've got a question to the police on the conversations that were had with the licence holder. You mentioned that the licence holder was asking about how to bar someone successfully. Was advice given on that, and did you see that followed out or otherwise?
Advice was given. It was not heeded, and it appeared to have minimal impact on Mr. Kearns barring members of that community from his premises, or indeed individuals that were known troublemakers.
What was the? Can I clarify what the advice was?
Ms. Denham, can you help? Ms. Denham, are you there?
Oh, sorry, my camera wasn't working. Yeah, so we essentially said, like, if somebody is causing issues or cause criminal damage, you're well within your rights to bar them. I think there was some concerns around them being from the travelling community that Mr. Kearns might be sued, but ultimately, if they've committed a crime, he is within his right to do so.
Other members of the committee?
Yes. I think if I'll ask questions in terms of the various other questions.
Go for it.
So I will kick off with Councillor Small first, if that's all right, Councillor Small. So can I ask, how many complaints have you had from residents to yourself about the premises? Do you have that?
I don't have the numbers to hand. If I was to give you the best impression, I would say upwards of 30 complaints from somewhere between 10 to 15 individuals. And I've also been party to complaints made via the Member of Parliament, who has then passed on complaints, maybe an additional 5 or 6 individuals from the Member of Parliament. And also just wanted to underline one of the reasons that I'm making the representations on behalf of so many residents was a fear and concern about putting their names and addresses in the public domain for fear of reprisals because of the level of violence that they have witnessed at the premises.
Thank you, Councillor Small. I've got I've got 2 questions for Mr. Rudd-Clark, if I may.
Yep, hello.
Hello. So my first question is, actually, apologies, you answered the first question during submissions. I'm not going to ask that question. The second one is, do you believe that the concerns that residents have raised have been taken seriously?
By who do you mean?
By the premises, apologies.
I mean, I would say that the way that the premises has reacted to the concerns would definitely make me feel like the answer is no to that question.
Thank you. And Ms. Worries, if I may, have you had to change your daily routines due to the behaviour of patrons from the pub?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had to change my routes of how I go to and use public transport and the times that I decide to come back home.
Thank you. And I have some questions for the police, if I may.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Rankin, when police officers spoke with the manager in the PLH, did they offer any justification for failing to apply Challenge 25 or for serving a visibly underage youth at 2:55 a.m?
Ms. Denham.
Not that I recall, no.
Can you would you describe the venue as one of the most problematic in the borough for repeated violent call-outs in the past 13 months?
Unquestionably.
How would,
Can the officer answer that rather than Mr. Rankin, please? Because obviously this is being recorded and we expect them to be honest and with their answer. So if you could ask the officer the question.
Ms. Denham, would you answer that?
Yeah, this is one of the most problematic premises on the borough, yeah.
But no, your question was about violence. Could you repeat the question to the officer, please?
okay. Would you describe this venue as one of the most problematic in the borough for repeated violent call-outs in the past year?
Yes.
And then how would you describe the burden placed on policing resources due to various call-outs from this pub?
So as a legal point, your legal advisor here, resources are not a matter which the committee should take into account. You might want to rephrase the question, but resources are not an issue.
Israel?
Sorry, may I just have
Yep, I'll move on to another question.
Yep.
I can, if you're happy, we can just come back.
Yeah, I'm happy.
We'll move on to another question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks. The other questions you answered in your submission, so I'm satisfied. I'm happy for that question not to come up. That's my view is I disagree, but I'm happy not to ask the question and not to get an answer out.
For my own part, can I say this, Chairman, that you're perfectly entitled to take into account matters of resources when determining how able the police are to continue to respond to the repeated demands upon their time.
Yes.
You're perfectly
Mr.
entitled.
Rankin, we'll take legal advice from our legal officer on that on that matter, and if necessary, we'll come back. Councillor Ammon, do you have any?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
I've listened to Councillor Small and the residents bravely attended today.
Sorry, bravely attended, you say?
Bravely, I said.
Why would you say bravely?
Because they both mentioned the fact that they were worried, and so that takes a bit of courage on.
But that's okay.
Who attended this, bravely attended today. Can I just say, I was a little bit curious about why your suggestion for reduced hours was lesser than the revocation suggested by both the residents and councillor Small. I just wondered why the discrepancy is so big.
Who's that directed to?
James Rankin or the police officer, whichever.
We've taken a balanced view on this. The view that we take is that if you cut back all of the hours that they currently enjoy, which are more liberal than other similar venues in the immediate locality, then there's a possibility that the difficulties being experienced by the residents and by the pub owners and operators in trying to control their pub would be solved. That's a possibility. Where we are not suggesting the nuclear option at this stage, but of course it's a matter entirely for you.
And can I ask, Marina, my word use was being brave and courage. Were you worried when you were attending? Were you fearful for your own safety?
Yeah, there was an element of whether or not I should even attend because, you know, having lived here and experienced the violence over these past couple of months, particularly a few weeks ago when, you know, he obviously came up on my balcony. I think that's the gentleman in the room. There is an element of fear living where I do live. So yeah, there was a feeling of fear of what could happen to me.
Can I clarify that instance was reported to the police and is part of the...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, I have reported that incident to the police.
And Councillor Small, I noticed your hand was up, and I just wondered, in your case, why did you go for what Mr. Rankin says is a nuclear option? Why did you go for that? As opposed to reducing the hours, why did you feel it would be a better solution at the moment than?
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor. Yeah, thank you. The reason was that obviously there are many components to the licence conditions as they already exist. And I think rather than just be a circumstance of the extended hours being the issues, I think the additional licence conditions around 2 security staff not enforced because of the admission by the licence holder of the additional cost, entry and exits covered, not enforced, patrons limited outside, not enforced, refusals book, missing, challenge 25, ignored, noise limiters, staff training, ignored. And actually, so this demonstrates a pattern of non-adherence, let's say, to the license conditions and a failure to uphold the conditions way beyond that of the hours themselves. Effectively, had this been the case that, you know, the pub was still shutting around midnight, all of those license conditions would have been missed and failed in the same circumstances. So, and to add on to the fact that effectively, I think, you know, great, it may suit the pub that these things go on into the early hours. If it's the same patrons and the same refusal to challenge or deal with the conditions, you're simply going to move that forward by a couple of hours. It's not a case of it's starting late and ending late. It starts early and it goes on till late, and it will just start early and it will just end slightly earlier.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Good. I've got a couple more. Back to the police on the instances. Just scanning down the list, there are the odd occasion of call-outs before the license. Before the shortened hours that you are suggesting. So, for example, there's one at 10 to 9, there's another one at 7:55, etc. But there aren't any beyond sort of 3 a.m. in the morning. So my question's in 2 parts. Firstly, if there are instances where you are being called out, separate instances where you are being called out before midnight, or before the license time that you're suggesting, then do you still think that will be solving the problem, and secondly, because I think it was mentioned in one of the residents' complaints that there have been lock-ins and drinking until the actual early morning, like 6, 7, 8 a.m. Have you seen any instances of that? So the two parts there.
First part, you're absolutely right that there are instances in our schedule of events that clearly take place before midnight, for example. But far and away, the majority of the incidents take place after midnight, and the ones that involve serious violence are those that take place after midnight. But you're perfectly correct when you say that the premises certainly have instances that have occurred before then.
And just before you go on the second point, just on that, if we were to strip away the post-midnight instances, would your recommendation still be the same?
I'd have to defer to Ms. Denham.
So if we were to take out all the instances post, let's say, midnight, would that still be one of the most, where would you place that in as my colleague said, you questioned the most violent. Would that still be considered one of the most violent premises in Haringey?
Like I think it was Henry mentioned, I would have perhaps said no for like the initial year-to-year reps that I did, but the incidents are becoming more frequent and starting earlier since the review was put in.
And the instances I understand continue to date.
Yeah.
What was that? I didn't hear.
So is that, I guess, can we get a clear answer like we had with the previous question, which was the previous question? Can you repeat it, Councillor?
Would you describe Vinny as one of the most problematic in the borough for repeated violent call-outs in the past year?
Okay. If we were to strip out all of the, as I said, all of the post-midnight, would you still say that it was the most problematic for violent call-outs?
Yes, it would still be one of the premises coming to police attention the most.
Okay. And then the second part of my question, which is, I can't see them here. It was raised by a resident, which I'll follow up in a second. Beyond sort of 3 a.m. in the morning, there's one or two that are 3:05, but beyond that sort of time, there's no record of any instances. Is there poor behaviour seen beyond those hours?
From my research through police systems, there's no antisocial behaviour reports of lock-ins that I can find.
And no antisocial behaviour post sort of 3:30ish?
It's like, I think the latest I could find was maybe about 4.
Okay.
But it was just the one incident.
Okay, you asked a question.
Yeah.
And you said if I stripped out.
That's the first part of the question.
Yeah. You strip it out, would it be the most problematic and violent? I think that's roughly the phrase. Yeah. And the answer back was most attendants, but didn't answer whether the question whether violence, whether you could just ask the question again.
Fine. Ms. Denham, sorry, could we just get a clarity on most violent for those ones pre-midnight in the borough? Yeah.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes to most violent
incidents
pre-midnight in the borough. Okay, thank you. And then the second part. No, I did the second part of my question. Thank you. But I do want to just quickly move on to Henry, that you mentioned that there were instances of, and Louina, you might want to comment on this as well. But Henry, you mentioned that there were instances of people leaving the pub 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. Have these been, were they were there instances of violent behaviours? Were there instances of noise? Anything that could be reportable either to the council or to the police?
So I think last month at some point I was awoken at 5 a.m. because I could hear noise coming from the pub. And I can say that on a Sunday last month at some point, I can't remember exactly what date, I saw men leaving the pub at 8 a.m. And I know I've received communications from another resident who is remaining anonymous. I believe that they are represented through Councillor Small about customers leaving the pub at 8 a.m. fairly recently on I think it was a weekday of some kind.
And have these, do you know if these have been reported to either the council or to the police?
I have not reported them, no.
I think that concludes my questions, unless anyone, well, the licence holder is permitted to ask some questions if you'd like.
Can I just ask one question?
Sorry, yeah.
About any kind of issues that have built up on the streets? So has other people, people who are not just attending the pub, affected by people who are, because the fights have gone outside, or there's been issues that have spilled into the streets, and other people who've been passing by have been affected? I mean, this is to the police, please. Mr. Rankin.
It looks like you might be following it.
I'm so sorry, forgive me, my connection's bad. Could you just repeat the question?
I was just wondering whether any incidents that occur at the pub should then spill out on the streets and involve other people who are just walking past the pub, or just minding their own business and stuff. Whether things have spilled out, so it's affected other people as well.
Yes, there is reference in our papers to incidents of just that nature.
That's
yes.
Can
I just ask one other thing? Have you done any arrests? What kind of actions have you taken against perpetrators of poor behaviour or violence?
It's very difficult when you have a public house that is full, for example, of 50 or so people fighting. It's terribly difficult in those circumstances to arrest everybody. For example, on the 17th of March, 5 police vehicles attended on the 17th of March to a report of a large-scale fight. And the job of the police in responding to something like that is essentially to dispel it. If there are clear instances of somebody that is responsible, then arrests can be made. And we've got some ongoing cases at the moment where we are considering prosecutions against certain individuals. But at the moment, it's firefighting. That's what we do. We go in and we try and quell whatever it is that is going on, which is a difficult job.
And one final thing, I know we were talking resources are not an issue, but I just wondered, I mean, you mentioned the incident for the 20th March and you had 5 police cars there. What would those officers been doing if they hadn't been called at the...
I think before we answer that question, should we just get...
So I'm not asking about cops, but I'm just wondering what officers would have been doing if they weren't doing that.
But I think that still falls under resourcing. One second, Mr. Rankin.
Yeah. Being put on the spot, and it's always a little difficult not having been able to think it through carefully. One of the licensing objectives is prevention of crime and disorder. You will have to satisfy yourselves as to whether the representations you're hearing are linked directly to the application before you. And the broader a question goes to something like resourcing, the more carefully you'll have to think about to what degree it's relevant. Your options seem to be to consider that now and then decide whether you want to ask a question, to decide not to ask it, or to note Mr. Dads's objection to it, ask the question and decide later on, once you've heard from Mr. Dads, how much weight you want to put on it. Those seem to me to be your options.
Can I just,
Yes, Mr. Rankin, if it's not directly responding to the question.
it's in relation to this submission by Mr. Dads that you can't take resources into account. But there's nowhere in the guidance and there's nowhere in the Act that says that you cannot take the police resources into account. If the simple fact of the matter is that we are short-staffed and unable to respond as quickly and in as insufficient numbers to incidents which take part at this public house, then you're perfectly entitled to take that into account.
I think we've asked a number, Councillor Wellman, I think we've asked a number of questions on a number of various topics that I think, I mean, I'll take the committee's general view, but.
No, I think it's helpful. Thank you very much, Mr. Rankin. I don't think
Okay.
I have any further questions anyway.
Thank you. I think we will conclude. Just double checking.
Yep, no more questions.
No more questions, Mr. Dads.
I just have a question for the police constable, please.
Ms. Denham.
Good evening, officer. Can I just ask you, please, just it's really around some clarification, if I may. I have a document, I don't know what page number it's because I don't have the supplementary, but it says since Thursday, the 17th of April, there's been approximately 21 calls to police, 13 of them involving violence against a person. You know that document that I'm referring to?
Help you on the page number if you want, sir. It's page 25 of the additional bundle.
Thank you. So, officer, you gave an answer. So my question is that you gave an answer earlier on about looking at police systems, resources. You've compiled this document and we've received it very recently within the last couple of weeks. Are you happy to stand by the truthfulness and accuracy of this document? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. And when you gave an answer earlier on about violence against the person or being one of the most serious, I see here you've got violence against the person mentioned multiple times. Is that the basis of which you form your opinion?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I'll rephrase the question. So the document at page 25, you've answered the question, a number of questions about violence against the person and our premises being one of the most highest in the borough, prolific violent offending. Is this list the basis of which you formed that opinion?
No, that's just part of it. I've spoken to many response officers, safer neighbourhoods officers, and they're all of a similar opinion.
And you've checked the police systems for that too, yes?
Yeah, well, they made statements which have been put into police representations.
Thank you.
That'll be okay.
I'm not going to ask any. I'm going to make representations.
That's absolutely,
I do note that that's been roughly an hour and 15 minutes in total.
including the question.
Yeah.
Can I just ask the officer
Yep.
whether the category of violence against the person is a category that she has to use? You know, what are the categories she has choice of? I just
That's not my decision. That's the will be the operator who puts on the CAD.
okay. So it sounds like there's a certain number of categories from which you choose. Okay, thank you.
Right, so can I ask the clerk, what time?
So the total amount is 16 minutes, that's seconds, I'd say around 17.
Okay, it's 17 minutes. So that's for that, and then obviously there were representations within that. So sorry, I know the problem with having the clerk so far away from me is that I can't. I've got to set my own timer just to make sure that.
Would you be kind enough to give me, say, a 3-minute warning to the end?
3-minute warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's only because I'm going to try.
I'm use the toilet.
Can we adjourn quickly for the bathroom? Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's right.
you happy? Yeah.
You know where close one is?
It's at the end of the corridor on the right.
Right. Yeah, just past the kitchen.
Uh,
I stick my head out the window.
pull that. Oh, we didn't give a time.
We didn't give it time.
I think you shouldn't have gone more than 2 minutes. It should
Yeah.
not be it's a toilet break, isn't it? It's a
Mr.
comfort.
Dadds.
It won't be a comfort break.
Sorry. Mr. Dadds. That's my bad.
Councillor Buxton will say it should only be a couple of minutes, so. We're on the moving cameras, I didn't realise. The camera's actually moving around, which I didn't realise. I assumed we were just as a normal meeting in here. Stand looking at me.
So I've got for those online, we will be re-adjourning at 8:22, so that's 4 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're joining us, yeah.
Re-adjourning. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
I don't want to sit down, it's too
Yeah.
sweaty. Reason. Too slow. Council laptop's not as quick. Let's just get my timer.
Is that fan not on? It's,
Dale said it was very, very loud. The fan.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about anything.
Oh, no, now said it's now.
We can't, because the
right.
batteries and everything, but we could put it behind there, actually.
I think it's loud. I think that's
just put it
what
on
Nat
and
said.
just try it, and if it is loud, then we can turn it off when they come in. You
Absolutely.
can always turn it on, off as soon as they come in.
Yeah.
I think we
And you can tilt the boat upwards so it doesn't blow everything.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I think. So,
Or you can just stop it,
I think that's
put it in one spot.
I seem to remember reading years ago that scientifically best thing to do with a fan. If you wanted to cool just one spot, point to the back spot. If you wanted to cool a room, best thing to do is point it out the window.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
Yeah.
It helps that's the best overall average according to the room.
Probably open that door too.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that before. It actually worked. I had two windows on opposite sides of the flat, thinking I'm going to push air in one and out the other. That didn't work, so I'm just sucking air out both, and that worked.
Yeah.
Really?
What you had just created was a vacuum.
Essentially, I created a vacuum, so I could have almost killed myself by sucking the oxygen out.
Right. Few of the bill missing. Well, I said 8:22 and I got 8:21, so I think that's only fair that we.
Given the heat, it's quite good to have a quick.
Just we have to stick around for the adjournment afterwards. So
Yes,
it's,
yes, very true.
Is a fan affecting you guys?
yeah, we're just going to double check when we re-adjourn that people can hear. I was
I'll
told that.
try to speak up. I think this must pick up my voice.
I mean, we've had no problems with people online, so at least they haven't complained.
We can check, can't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it is also meant to be picking up for the transcription as well, so. I think. I don't know, I like. Yeah. Right, I need to wait for the clerk to come back. Naz.
I could accompany someone downstairs.
Right, okay. sounds like he might be back.
Yes.
There we go.
Some of our observers of the social simulations.
Okay, right, yeah, fair enough, it is quite warm.
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Dowd, we are re-adjourning the meeting, clerk is everything in order. Okay, so 17 minutes, I'll just give you a 3 fingers for when you have 3 minutes left, yeah,
Yes.
whenever you're ready.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, members. I don't know if you just actually want to check that the fan is not affecting anyone.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Can I just double check? We turned the fan on in the room. Can everyone still hear us quite well? Councillor Small, can you?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can still hear you.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Members, your note.
That was your fault.
Yes. you know that we were due to be heard, I think, on the 7th of July. And I raised a number of issues regarding right to a fair hearing, being given documents late, and having the right to have more detail provided by the police. And I said it was important through the equity of arms that we have proper disclosure, that we should have timely disclosure of all evidence and allegations, clear identification of the issues to be determined, sufficient time to prepare and respond, and the equal opportunity to present and challenge that evidence. I yesterday received a number of tranches of documents from the police service, particularly around the list on page 25. And that's why I asked a number of questions around this list. Firstly, I'd like to say that I think I have grave concerns, very serious concerns, around the conduct of the Metropolitan Police Service. Less so from the barrister representing the police, because he's taking instructions, and I expect that's the danger of having remote hearings. But certainly the officer in attendance, I have serious concern today about the submissions being made. The submissions from the police, particularly around this document, page 25, you've heard that they've checked their systems. These are violence against the person, violence incidents, and that this forms the basis of an opinion of a number of questions regarding our premises before midnight and afterwards being one of the most prevalent or premises for violence within the borough. The information that you have actually received on that list is outdated and misleading information. It should have been verified by the police service using their Connect system. This failure has is troubling us because it has serious replications about our client's application and reputation, particularly when you hear questions and phrases. And I mean, no disrespect. It's the way that this has been framed to you. We've got a councillor asking people how brave it was for you to come and the courage to come. You know, in a sense that it's a courage against the traveller community. You should be here, maybe. I don't know. But certainly those words are very unusual. I'd even say that actually the individuals that turned up earlier on from the traveller community, they were brave to come here and sit through a formal hearing to try to give some support. Now, the Connect system, the police system, it should be used to have present information that before you as members to be accurate, real-time intelligence. That information, the report should be in effect clear to you and up to date. Failing to up to date that information or give a misleading impression to the committee raises serious questions around truthfulness, professionalism, preparedness of the police service, and the reliability of the information which you've been given. It's either that the officer has been reckless, negligent, or intended to give false statement today in the representation and to you as committee members. It is serious what is now taking place. It's being recorded and it's not acceptable behaviour. The failure to review the information that you have been given, certainly at page 25, verify its accuracy, or not to disclose or correct inaccuracies of that information during the hearing is very troubling. It directly undermines the licensing process, which I say constitutes an offence actually under the Licensing Act. The public and the licensing authority and you as members are entitled to expect that police submissions are accurate, correct, and professionally verified. Anything, because if it's not done so, then that erodes public trust and confidence and fairness in the process. I'll pause for a minute. Could you pause my time?
Yeah, we're just letting people in. That's all right. Got it left.
Yeah, more.
You've got 11.5 minutes left. What everyone's
I think just before we, is there anyone else still due to come back in? Might as well ask. So we don't.
Yeah. So is that anyone else due to come?
Yeah, they think.
Oh, right. Fair enough. How long that?
I can continue if you wish. I mean, the public shouldn't interfere in the hearing.
No, I mean, it's
It's
just
up to you, but if they're moving-
it's just his officers had to leave to. That's all right.
No one had done it.
I mean, yes, but I assumed it'd be late. So.
I'm going to that one week.
Yeah,
You sure? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
11.5 minutes left.
Thank you. The Licensing Act, it's an offence to knowingly or recklessly make a false statement in relation to an application, even a representation. This includes a false statement made in a document used in connection with an application or review. A person commits an offence if they knowingly or recklessly make a false statement, and I will deal with that. The College of Policing in Ethics sets out that there is an expectation that officers will act truthfully, trustworthy and sincere manner, not knowingly make a false or misleading or inaccurate or oral or written statements. They must fully cooperate and be open in formal proceedings regarding ensuring that all submissions are accurate and verified. I'd like to just raise a number of points in the information you've got at page 25. So for example, because I've asked for advance disclosure and all the documents I got yesterday, I was able to go through them all, members. You haven't had them. I've only had hours to look at them. But I can tell you, for example, the matter regarding, say, the 10th of May, sexual offences. So that's put at its very highest. There's a sexual offence at the premises at 3 minutes past midnight. Report actually, in the information we were disclosed yesterday, says after investigation, it was determined that this incident did not constitute a sexual assault. The suspect was only grabbed on the arm. The case was reclassified as common assault and the crime reference number was issued. The incident was closed with no further police attendance required. That matter and outcome was actually noted on the police record computer system on the 10th of May at 1:15 in the morning. There is no reason at all that that should have appeared again in any papers before you in that way, and certainly not on the supplementary. It's misleading and false. The matter, I'm going to just pick a few because I've only got a few minutes because I'm going to ask for an adjournment at the end. The 3rd of June, violence against the person. Officer arrived at scene, found the group had returned.
Sorry, could you repeat the date?
The 3rd of June.
Yep. Which of the CADs there are 4?
Yes, I will deal with that in a
Okay,
moment.
no,
Yep. So arrived at scene, found group had returned. Officers confirmed that the group consisted of 12 to 15 travellers. The police should not refer to them as travellers. They should give them their identity. As the situation was described, all good-natured, no offences disclosed, no offences disclosed, and it was closed. And all the other matters are duplication and linked to the same. So the one with the CAD 7806 is a duplication, CAD 7706 is a duplication, 7714, 7771 all appear on the same date. But they all have violence against the person, antisocial, rowdy, inconsiderate behaviour. Then if I've got, and the other matters, which are violence against the person, so that's 25 past 8, 8:30, all are duplications and not separate incidents. And that, as I say, was closed. Then in relation to, if I can pick another one. Bear with me.
6 minutes 50 left.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's yes, please.
Yes, I think I can. So I've got another one here that says 22nd of June. Had 911 in America. It says officers arrived at scene, found a few travellers outside, no issues were observed. The situation was described as dispersing, no offences were disclosed, that the incident was not crimed, and closed with resolution. Dispersing, no offences disclosed. Now, that was closed off as an issue on the same date at 4:08. It says no crime classification. But here today, you've been told in the papers that it's violence against the person. That's what you've been told. And actually, the original report describes approximately 30 females described as travellers. Once again, the police shouldn't be referring in that classification way, fighting in the street, blocking traffic. The call was made at 22:52, assigned whilst on the call taker at 02:25, and they arrived within 4 minutes. And the officers arrived on scene, a few travellers outside, no issues observed. You ask yourself, actually, a lot of these, where there are some calls, there's no issues arising when they arrive. Carrying on, there was one here that says, if I just quickly go through them, because I can then tell you what they are. So the matter on the 18th of the 4th, it says no further action. When they arrived, it was closed, marked as no crime. Yes, police attended scene promptly. Upon arrival, premises found to be closed. A male was contacted by the police, so on. Next one, violence against the person on the 24th of the 4th. The crime incident, the incident was not crimed. It was closed with the resolution, no offence disclosed. Officers confirmed that although the group was large and disruptive, no actual fight occurred and the situation resolved without arrest or escalation. But that is recorded as violence against the person. Again, misleading, false, and you are to be given a wrong account and impression. The officer has already said she's taking this list as the basis to answer your question and the other councillor's question. Officers attend the scene, found a few people remaining outside chatting. No recorded offence was recorded. The incident was not a crime. Antisocial behaviour, rowdiness, inconsiderate behaviour on the 25th of the 4th. Violence against the person on the 3rd, I've done that already. Sexual offence, I've done that one. 13th of May, violence against the person. It was closed off the same day. The incident was not crimed. It says informed incident that the report was logged for information purposes only. The only person only wanted to call up, say, please log it. Witness observed an incident from a window, submitted details, the police online system. That was about an alleged argument between an Uber driver and public. Once again, 26th of the 5th, violence against the person, closed on the 26th, the same day. Incident was marked as a duplicate. Then on the same day, violence against the person, officers attended the scene, found the situation to be all good-natured, no offence. That is also described by the police as violence against the person. It goes on and on and on, Mr. Chairman. Members, I must ask for an adjournment. The reason why is the police must disclose properly all the records on the documents, must have proper time to go through all these. I've gone through as many as I can. It's not acceptable that you've been given a list like this, and I've gone through most of those, and it's no crime. And it's serious. Someone has come to this committee, a police officer, who should be professional and has misled you and has misled this committee. And obviously, Mr. Ranking will have to have a speak with the officer and the commissioner, because potentially we are going to report this matter as a crime and it needs to be seriously investigated. My client is concerned that indirectly there is discrimination because the premises is used by the travelling community and that the residents are directly above do not want a traveller pub directly underneath them. There is discrimination. There is actually water being thrown at the travellers underneath to get a reaction in filming. Eggs being thrown. The conduct is unacceptable. The applicant for the review has noted that he says that it was the police that instigated the application, but in fact, it was the Environmental Health. But the Environmental Health this year has only had one complaint on the 15th of February, and he should have fixed punishment. No other complaints on the report. I have to go from the report. And if there's further information, then that should be disclosed in advance so I can prepare. So I ask that this meeting be adjourned for the police to reconsider the information they are presented to you, for us to be able to go through it in much more detail and to make sure we come back to you so that we have the right to have a fair hearing. Thank you.
Can I just seek a clarification from you, and then we'll probably take an adjournment and discuss it with the clerk. So this is based on the list at page 25 of the additional papers, page 14 of the additional papers, which is a older list. So this goes from the dates of 25th of May, 16th of April. Don't think
I've not had the time to go through all of them. Right.
Okay.
I've concentrated, Chair. I know that there's two lists. I physically, I haven't, if I can show you what I've got as information, I've just tried to do that to illustrate very clearly and succinctly, we've got a problem, you've got a problem, we've got a problem. And I would say that in relation to this, I've made my submission. I know you will get legal advice.
Yep, thank you. So first I'll go to Dale.
Can I just clarify, please? I'm a little bit confused. So Mr. Dowser just mentioned he's been sent information, but I don't think.
No, we have.
No.
Sorry.
No. He sent information apparently yesterday. I've not seen, so therefore it's not been passed on to yourselves. So he's talking directly from matters that been sent directly to him, basically. So we are, the local authority hasn't got.
Right, okay, so I
Can
understand.
I ask a
I think it
clarification?
may be
So-
worthwhile also getting the view from Mr. Rankin.
We'll go to councillor Costa.
So can I, the information you've just given us, which you've read out, where have you received this from?
From the Metropolitan Police Service with the Chris and Cat reports provided yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
And what I had to do is that I had to ask a number of questions to verify what was being said.
Yeah.
And then I've been able to then make my statement and ask for the request for an adjournment. I would ask members, if you don't mind, it's for you to regulate your own procedures. But as I've asked for an adjournment, I know that your legal advisor will say we'll hear from the other parties. And then I would suggest that you get some legal advice because we are demanding the right to a fair hearing.
And Israel, we hear from the other parties. You need to
I
hear
think
them,
we,
yeah.
let's, I think in all fairness, we should hear from Mr. Rankin,
Yeah.
in my view, and then the panel will retire with our legal advisor to make a decision and then report.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one?
So, I think councillor Owen wants to.
Okay, apologies.
One question. The list that you've been referring to, I should ask, so these are incidents where the police have come to the premises, is that right?
Some of them were, there was one instance where you said they hadn't, it was just logged.
No, the police arrived, police arrived, but the complainant asked for it just to be logged. And the police arrived, nothing there.
But the police did arrive.
Nothing there.
Thank you.
Mr. Rankin?
It, I regret, is an old advocate's technique. What you do is you find one or two CADs that give you information that assists your case, and then attempt to drive a coach and horses through the police case. The offences that you have, or the titles of those offences, are precisely and faithfully recorded on the CADs. That is how the incidents are called in. So, for example, an incident in relation to violence against the person is called in.
You should be addressing the gentleman.
What is the complaint, Mr. Dads?
My complaint is, if the chair will allow me, is that I have made quite clearly, I don't want, I'm not criticising you, Mr. Rankin, because you're taking instructions, but I've made it quite clear that I've received information very late. You will understand, because you are very experienced, that the head note or the line violence against the person is the what's been given in the list, and all the Chris and CADs or the information from the Connect system is showing a completely different outcome. So, for example, the sexual assault. So I've asked fairly, not to ambush you, I've asked fairly for an adjournment so that we can go away. You can give your officer advice and your client. We can go away and properly prepare. We were only disclosed the further documents yesterday. So whilst we can have a discussion, I'm saying, about the merits, or you're trying to attack my representation, I'm saying we would like an adjournment, and I'm saying to the chair that I think it would be right for you to comment whether you disagree about the adjournment.
I disagree. I wonder if I could just respond to the question that I was asked before you interrupted.
Mr. Rankin?
So it's an old advocate's technique, which Mr. Dads has had resort to in the past. You find some...
We're talking about today, no criticism of me. That's not fair. No attack on me. There'll be no attack on me, Mr. Rankin.
Yeah.
If you find a discrepancy in the CAD, and then you attempt to force an adjournment in order to press your case. The incidents that are recorded on page 25 and in the original representations are faithful representations of how those incidents were called in. So, for example, if it's called in as violence against the person, then that is how the code is entered on the CAD. And these are faithful renditions for what the CAD says. I'm not suggesting that the outcomes of the CADs marry up in every respect with how the incident was called in, because, for example, often an incident will be called in, police arrive but too late because the incident is then over. And then, of course, there is no crime to record. But nevertheless, police turned up at the premises. There is absolutely no need for any adjournment in a case like this. It's not as if Mr. Dads has been disarmed in some way. It's not as if Mr. Dadds has been denied a fair hearing. This is
Thank
what
you.
we.
Thank you.
wonder
Thank you,
if I
Mr.
could just
Yep.
just complete the submission. So any suggestion that there should be an adjournment is resisted strongly. Mr. Dadds has already had his adjournment already.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. We will take a.
Please.
We have to get the views of the speaking residents as well on the adjournment. Okay.
On the adjournment that we want to make now to seek legal advice, or the adjournment itself that Mr. Dadds has requested, just to clarify which adjournment.
On the adjournment itself, that Mr. Dadds requested.
Okay. Right. Okay. Which will inform our
adjournment as well. Yes, but I just wanted to make sure we were getting advice on the right, getting representations on the right one.
So we have Councillor Small, Lavina, and Henry. Councillor Small.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, this is the second adjournment, as in this hearing has taken place after 2 adjournments, and I know this will weigh heavily as you have to balance out the various different arguments, but to remind the residents at the centre of this situation alongside the licensing review that is being conducted. Obviously, you will have to take your advice as to what is and isn't your remit. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Small. Mr. Henry or Lavina, would you like to make any representations on that?
No comment on my side.
Thank you. Henry?
No comments.
60 seconds in response.
So,
1 minute.
Okay.
So I would say that Councillor Small talks about the residents, but I asked you to take into account the premise licence holder and their right to have fair hearing. These documents were provided yesterday. And then the last point I want to make, Chair, is that the last adjournment, whilst I wanted to have an adjournment, actually it was your colleague that abandoned it, and it's not a reflection on us. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we will take a short adjournment and she will return once we have legal advice. Apologies, we are re-adjourning as we missed Mr. Darwish. You should have made yourself.
It's fine. If that's what this decision, we're happy. And I personally, I'm going to take over this case and raise the all documents removed and the report you asked me, I think the answer, and I've got those answers for things.
Okay, we now will adjourn the meeting.
Of our democracy. If you can get a job at 16 and pay taxes and join the army, you absolutely have the right to participate in democracy. Giving us the ability to have a vote, giving us the way to pay our income.
The same decisions that 16
Councillor Adam, your mic's on.
It's a great honour and privilege.
Thank you. Apologies, I'm watching my video.
Is the screen back on?
See, my client's downstairs and it's fresh air. Is it only just downstairs? So,
You'll have to proceed without your client, yeah? Yeah. At the,
it's a bit.
Okay,
It's not on.
can everyone see and hear us?
Yeah, can hear you and see you.
Thank you. Apologies for the delay. Obviously, we had a number of matters to discuss. Oh, yeah. Second. Welcome back, Mr. Kearns.
Sorry, Chair, just before you start, I note that the time has gone past 9:30, so I'm just going to ask the chair of the subcommittee if they are okay to conclude the hearing beyond 10 o'clock.
Yes, can I ask the committee? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Naz. Right, before I read out our decision, could I please invite the legal officer to share the legal advice that he shared with us in the adjournment?
Thank you, Chair. This will be a summary of my advice only, and advice. This is applying Rule 72 of local procedure rules by analogy. The advice I gave is that you have the power to adjourn, and I identified the Licensing Act 2003, hearings regulations 2005, specifically Regulation 12. As giving power for this, you have the power to adjourn a hearing to a specified date where you consider this to be necessary for your consideration of any representations or notice made by a party. I advised that the courses you might consider are, number one, whether you felt able to continue the hearing today and reach a decision, taking into account as part of your consideration representations made by Mr. Dadds earlier and any further matters that would arise during the remainder of the hearing. Or if you felt that that would not give you enough assurance that you could properly consider the representation made, then you could adjourn. And that was the essence of the options available to you. That is the summary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Israel. Right, now to the decision. So the decision is to adjourn, and we considered this carefully. We are mindful of the need to reach a decision of this review and note the two previous adjournments. We do struggle to see the necessity for the extreme lateness of the request by the licence holder's representative, and we cannot see why this was not raised at the beginning of the meeting, and why the documents that he alluded to weren't shared and haven't been shared thus far, except verbally. However, by a fine margin, we feel our final decision will be improved if we have a chance to hear more detail on this from the licence holder and others. Therefore, the hearing is adjourned until, the suggested date is August the 5th. So I would just like parties to confirm that that is a suitable date.
I can say that given the wealth of documents and information, and given the time, I'm on annual leave all of next week, and given I think the police will need to do certain things, I think realistically it should be at least 4 weeks, given the substantial issues that we face. I know you say, I don't think any criticism why we're raising it now, but remember, we were on the back foot. We only got the information yesterday afternoon, and I had to wait to hear police say, and because of some of the questions you asked, it put me in that position where I had to make that decision. So I believe that we realistically, given the length of documents we have, there's no rush. I mean, I know you want to get to a decision, but I would say 4 weeks would be appropriate, especially given the summertime of people's holidays, etc.
Oh, that's existing hearings.
start with. It's the.
Yeah, you're also.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just going to take some. Okay, so the 14th. Mr. Rankin?
Keep the 5th of August, please. Mr. Dadd says there's no rush. Well, then maybe there's no rush from his point of view, but from the police point of view, there is a rush because these are premises which we say continue to impact adversely on the police
Anyway.
and residents. So please stick with the 5th of August.
Councillor Small?
I don't know to what extent this plays a role. I agree with the need to move fast as opposed to move to not delay. I think there's already been enough time considering the existing adjournment. However, I cannot do 5th of August. So it's anything still within an urgent time frame or a quick time frame, but not that date would be preferable.
It's 14th of August. I don't think anyone's particularly prejudiced by that. Because otherwise we can just appeal. I mean, and just do it at the magistrates in a year's time. Yes.
Right, no, that's my decision, but I'm open to.
I mean, I think the week after, but that's as much as I want to shift.
Yeah.
I think there's no need for 4 weeks. I mean, you know, it's pushing it really.
I'm happy with
There's a lot of residents who are also concerned, and so it needs to be made reasonably quickly, the decision. The 12th I could do, which was the other one that you said?
So.
I know, it's a difficult time. Mr. Rankin?
The 12th I cannot do, and Mr.
Sorry,
Dadd.
it's the 14th.
The 14th I regret I cannot do.
I think the 5th is probably the best available date, and that the evidence, if I remember correctly, is the documentation that you referred to. That shouldn't take very long to be sent to us or to decide. But I mean, it seems to me it's you've provided a lot of information and quite helpful actually. And your questioning was helpful. Actually,
I mean,
all I would say,
So
members, I understand, but what I would say is that you need to hear from me, of course, on these. And I understand the need, the urgent need for you to push ahead and get a decision. But I would say is that I am already leave next week for a week, and it's only a week. So that pushes me then to, I think, the 28th, and it gives me very little time to deal with the client. We have got substantial information. My client, the reason why we've asked for in person, my client does struggle with vulnerabilities in relation to deal with things remotely. So I can't deal with it. That's why we're here in person. And every time I've met him, I've had to do it in effect in person. So it is a different case that I have to deal with all those dynamics. So, but look, at the end of the day, I will work with what you've got. But if we're not ready on the 5th, I will be coming back saying we're not ready.
So, okay. The original papers, we have not assuming there's much, you know, these have been available for quite some time. I'm discussing this potentially a bit more openly than I probably should. However, the original papers, those have been scrutinised by councillors, by members, by the licence holder, by parties joining us online. The additional papers, which are much substantially thinner, are what is being disputed by you with additional information. Okay,
200 pages.
About 200 pages of information. I mean that by your summaries, that was calling into question some of the report, which obviously the police will have to respond to. I do feel like that is one part of the larger part, and I'll happily take legal advice and advice from the clerk. But given the nature of the rest of the papers that we have already reviewed and this additional piece of information, I am minded to go for the 5th. I understand the concern. This has been adjourned several times, and potentially, again, we could have made this decision more straightforwardly had this been raised earlier in today's meeting as well. So I am minded that we go for the 5th of August. So I'm just looking at my phone for the dates. That gives, I granted that you are away next week. There's working day tomorrow. There is one. There.
How many working days? Because I'm in the Crown Court tomorrow, but that may be adjourned.
Well, 1, 6, 10, 11. No, sorry, I do have a good maths brain, but not.
It is 11 working days.
It's 12 working days. Tomorrow, 5, 10, 12.
Right.
There are 12 working days between now and the next meeting. Aware that there is annual leave from various people, but I do not think in this case there are various issues with the 14th. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
I've got that date. That's your decision.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Everyone get home safe. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you everyone joining online.